Effective feedback requires strong connection. To create a feedback culture, there are 3 core components that we need to consider. And this is the video to explore the first component, which is around connection. And at its highest level, connection is really what determines whether feedback will be sought or given, and whether it will be superficial and ambiguous or deep and meaningful. Connection is what governs the quality of the conversation that takes place. Attempting feedback, whether that is seeking or giving, without connecting or having a connection with the other person is relatively pointless. If there's no or low trust and neither party understands the other, then the chances of an effective conversation that provides change taking place is going to be low. With connection, there are 3 principles within that to consider. So the first is calibration, which is how a person's behaviour and attitude changes over the course of a conversation, and how that aligns with what you might expect as the person speaking. So for example, if someone comes into a conversation with high energy and happiness, but at some point in the conversation they stop smiling and slump back in their chair, it's highly likely that the change in their behaviour is because of something that you have said. And that might be in line with what you'd expect, depending on what the conversation is about. So for example, if you've just delivered them some bad news, then this shift in behaviour would be in line with what you expect. But if you haven't, then it's not in line. And you might want to pause and ask, what's going on for you right now? Calibration ensures that you're both on the same page and that you understand what is being communicated, both good and bad. It also gives the opportunity to ask questions, adjust your approach, or provide more context to a message where appropriate, where you see they're not picking up what you're putting down. The second principle is curiosity, which is what allows us the opportunity to see different perspectives and understand people better. I think curiosity should be our default, but I acknowledge that often it is not. Instead, we assume, we pass judgment, and we often dismiss what the other person is saying. And in doing so, we limit our ability to connect and build effective relationships with others. When you're curious about how your perspective differs from others, you can notice where it's limiting your progress or outcomes in a situation. If holding a certain view of things limits you or imposes obstacles that you can't get past, then it's worth considering how you might shift your view and even seek feedback on it from your peers. And the third principle is consideration, which is specific and known information about another person. It's validated and it's confirmed, either through asking questions specifically, or hearing things that the other person might have said in passing, or through confirmation that an assumption is correct or incorrect. And it's remembering that this information, or considering this information when interacting them in the future, because that's what makes them unique. And so when you acknowledge and adjust your conversation to support those unique attributes, then your connection will be better and your trust will deepen. When you calibrate, when you're infinitely curious and you're considerate of others, you will build this strong connection and develop a deep level of trust and understanding for the other person. It's also through connection that you can build this psychologically safe environment that embraces vulnerability and sees all humans as equally imperfect and with the opportunity to improve. It's through connection that you can approach conversations with strength and kindness. It is from this foundation that we can seek and give feedback successfully and consistently, and will allow the relationship to endure long after the feedback has been shared.